The day you started chasing her, you stopped chasing your future. It never starts with weakness. It starts with distraction. A man doesn't wake up one morning and decide to lose himself. It happens gradually, one compromise at a time, one delayed goal at a time, one emotional decision at a time, until one day, the same man who once had ambition, discipline, focus, and hunger can barely recognize himself. And the craziest part? Most men don't notice it happening until everything collapses. At the beginning, you were dangerous. Not dangerous because you were loud, dangerous because you were focused. You had plans, you had standards, you had a future you were building. Every dollar mattered to you, not because you were broke, but because you understood something most people never learn. Money follows discipline, not motivation. Discipline. You were willing to sacrifice comfort for long-term success. While everybody else was wasting weekends, you were thinking bigger. You wanted freedom. You wanted options. You wanted a life where you never had to beg anyone for anything. That mindset, that energy, that's what made you attractive. But then she came into your life, and slowly, your priorities shifted. Not immediately. That's why it's dangerous. You started spending more time chasing connection than chasing growth, more energy on attention than on ambition. You stopped investing in yourself, stopped learning, stopped building, stopped improving, and instead, you became emotionally dependent on her presence. That's when your foundation cracked. See, relationships are supposed to complement your life, not replace it. But many men make one mistake that destroys them financially, emotionally, and mentally. They make the relationship their entire identity. Now everything revolves around her, your schedule, your mood, your confidence, your decisions, even your money. And this is where reality gets brutal, because once a man loses direction, everything around him starts declining too. His energy drops, his standards drop, his discipline drops, even his finances start collapsing. Because the same focus that helps a man build wealth is the same focus that keeps him emotionally grounded. Lose one, and eventually you lose both. Let's talk money for a second, because this is where most men stay silent. A focused man can turn $500 into $5,000 through consistency, skill, and patience. But a distracted man? He can lose $50,000 trying to impress people who were never loyal to begin with. That's the difference. One man builds, the other performs. One invests, the other seeks validation, and validation is expensive, very expensive. Some men go broke trying to look successful. Designer clothes, luxury dinners, expensive gifts, trips they can't afford, all just to keep attention. But attention purchased through money rarely turns into respect. Because if your value depends on spending, what happens when the spending stops? Think about that carefully. A man with purpose doesn't throw away his future to impress somebody temporarily. He understands delayed gratification. He understands sacrifice. He understands that building a solid life takes years. And that discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. That's why emotionally unstable men often struggle financially too, because emotions affect decisions, and bad emotional decisions destroy wealth faster than bad luck ever will. Look around. How many men ruined opportunities because they couldn't control themselves emotionally? How many lost businesses, careers, friendships, or savings because they were chasing validation? How many men abandoned their mission for temporary comfort? Too many. And society rarely talks about it, honestly. The truth is, when a man loses his purpose, he becomes vulnerable to distraction. And distraction is one of the most expensive things on earth because it steals time, and time is worth more than money. You can recover $10,000. You can recover $100,000, but you can't recover wasted years. That's permanent. This is why discipline matters so much. Not because discipline sounds motivational, but because discipline protects your future. It protects your focus, your finances, your confidence, your standards. Without discipline, people become reactive. And reactive people make emotional choices. They overspend, overcommit, overchase, overattach, and eventually they burn themselves out. Now listen carefully. There's nothing wrong with loving someone. Nothing wrong with giving effort. Nothing wrong with caring deeply. But if love costs you your identity, it's too expensive. If connection destroys your focus, the price is too high. And if someone only values you when you're constantly sacrificing yourself, That relationship was never balanced to begin with. Strong men understand balance. They can love someone without abandoning themselves. They can care deeply without becoming weak emotionally. They can build relationships while still building their future. That's maturity. That's control. That's power. And let's be honest, financial stability changes relationships too. Stress hits differently when bills pile up. Arguments increase when direction disappears. Pressure exposes weaknesses. That's why purpose matters so much for men. A man with no direction eventually loses confidence, and a man without confidence starts seeking reassurance everywhere. That's when chasing begins. That's when desperation appears, and desperation destroys attraction quickly. You know what's attractive? A man who stays focused regardless of circumstances. A man who can lose everything and still rebuild. A man who doesn't panic emotionally. A man who knows, I can generate another $1,000. I can rebuild another business. I can recover from setbacks. That mindset creates resilience, and resilience creates confidence. Not fake confidence, real confidence. Because real confidence doesn't come from compliments, it comes from competence. From knowing you can survive pressure, from knowing you can create value, from knowing your future doesn't depend on another person staying. That changes everything. Most people chase comfort, but strong men chase growth. Growth is uncomfortable. Waking up early is uncomfortable. Saving money is uncomfortable. Investing in yourself is uncomfortable. Saying no to distractions is uncomfortable. But comfort today often creates suffering tomorrow, while discipline today creates freedom later. That's the trade most people refuse to make. And here's what nobody tells men. The world respects results, not excuses, not potential, results. A man who stays disciplined for 5 years can completely transform his life financially. A man who wastes 5 years chasing distractions can destroy opportunities that may never return. That's how serious this is. So if you feel lost right now, good, because awareness is the beginning of change. Now you can rebuild intentionally. Now you can become sharper, more disciplined, more emotionally controlled, more financially aware, more focused. Stop chasing people who confuse your mind. Start chasing goals that improve your life. Stop spending money trying to impress others. Start investing money into becoming valuable. Learn skills, build income, protect your attention, protect your energy, protect your future, because every focused year can change the next decade of your life. And remember this, a person can leave your life at any moment, but your skills, your discipline, your mindset, and your ability to create value, those stay with you. That's real security. Not temporary attention, not validation, not emotional dependency. Real security comes from becoming someone who can stand on his own, financially, mentally, emotionally. So no, you didn't just lose a relationship. You lost focus. You lost discipline. You lost direction. But those things can be rebuilt. And once they are, you stop begging life for opportunities. You start creating them. Because in the end, the strongest man in the room is rarely the loudest. It's the man who controls himself, the man who controls his emotions, the man who controls his habits, the man who understands the value of time, discipline, and every single dollar he earns. That man becomes unstoppable. And once you become that man, everything changes.